Let the words of our mouths and the meditations of our heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Hello and welcome. I am Renee, and this is At the Table with Hype C. Raw. We have with us tonight the director of Hype Central, an independently owned, faith-based organizational hub providing developmental insights to a diverse, often neglected spiritual community, often shunned by societal biases. So let's get into our introduction with our probing questions for the night. Happy to have you with us tonight.
Hey, what's up?
Hi. And let us start out first by getting to know you. What
Uh-oh.
is your name?
Well, the name on my birth certificate is Charles L. Vance Jr.
Oh, okay. And where were you born?
Chicago, Illinois, um, in Inglewood, actually. I think in the 50s or 60s of Everhart.
Hmm. And your parents? Who were they?
Well, that would be Charles L. Mans Sr. And my mom, that's Gloria Y. Mans. Her maiden name was Amos.
Okay. And their occupations?
Well, my dad, he was a engineer. I know that's the professional word for it, but probably more involved in the utilities of the Chicago Board of Education schools for many years. Lost count. I just know it was a long time until they retired. And then my mom, homemaker first, bus driver, and actually pastor for a number of years.
Okay. Was your dad also affiliated with the church?
Uh, he had his time there. You know, he actually led Sunday school for a short period of time and showed his support. And another thing he did, our offering at the time, because we were young, he said, "Okay, guys, let's go." And we look around, go where? Time to go clean up the church. So that was our offering. So this wasn't my mom's church. It was a church we were affiliated at the time in Roseland of Chicago. But I guess our contribution was keeping the church clean, and we usually went down on weekends.
Okay. And your parents, where are they now?
Both deceased. Number of years back. I'm not good on keeping track of the dates as to when, but it's been a number of years.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
Absolutely. Let's see, where do I begin? You know, we're not the typical close-knit family, but there's 7 of us. I'm number 3. So, you know, there's Sherry, there's Brian, there's myself, Stephanie, who they thought was my twin for a number of years. She's just under me. Then Stephen, and then Kenneth, and then Stacy.
You said something about your relationship. So, how is your relationship with them?
Well, that's difficult to determine because we're not real close. I couldn't even begin to tell you where everybody is. Brian, who is the number 2, would be is the word matriarch of the family. He's the one that normally keeps up with all of us. He's the one that, you know, a lot of families have those that has the barbecues, you know, the come-overs. That's Brian.
Okay.
And then down, I guess for the last 7 years, he would call me on occasion to see how I'm doing. But other than that, you know, I think I spoke to Stephanie once or twice, and I hear news by wind of, you know, different ones, but we're not really that close.
Okay. And you yourself, are you currently employed?
I am not. Funny you should ask. That's a part of why I'm here today, but no, as of, I want to say, November of 2020. 2021, I am no longer with a long time employer
Mm-hmm.
of National Futures Association.
Oh, okay. That was kind of where I was going next.
Uh-oh. I didn't
Where's
know whether or not to say the company or not because, I didn't know. But keep going.
mm. And how many jobs have you had
Oh,
in
goodness.
your lifetime?
Don't even start. Well, those that are listening to this at the table at Hype Central probably don't know, but the voice that you're hearing, who didn't want to be in front of the camera, so I don't get any complaints, happens to be my spouse, wife of about 38 years, but she didn't want to be in front of the camera. So when we first got married, I had no job. So for the first 6 months or so, I was at home, upstairs with mom. So we were definitely newbies. And then the first job I got after that was working for a company called Grandma Gephardt's, downtown Chicago. So a couple of years there, left there as a manager of one of their stores. And then we moved on. I won't get into all the levels and all of that, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, Gephardt's was basically gourmet tea and coffee and Colombo type treats. Then after I left there, and I'm probably going to miss one or two along the way, but went to Orkin Pest Control. I worked for Radio Shack for a period of time, and the pest control was a number of years. Not only Orkin, but Allied, AAA, a few other pest control companies, but not only in Chicago. I was doing commercial for them, but also doing some residential for a short period in St. Louis, Missouri, where we are now. So, after that, well, in addition to doing the pest control in St. Louis, I started with Pinkerton doing security back in the 90s. So I had done security for over 20 years as well as NFA over 20 years. So other than that, if I'm missing something, I just want to add I also did some home improvements working alongside a good friend of mine, Chris.
Hmm. Did you actually enjoy any of the jobs you had?
Oh, that's a good question. Let us see. Well, yes. I want to say all of them had something to offer. That's a good question. Grandma Gephardt's, what I liked about them is watching the elevation happen in front of my eyes. And here's the funny thing, you guys. There was a period of time where Miss Mans was actually working with me. And here's another part. She probably won't want me to mention this. I actually had to fire Miss Mans at a period of time. I had to lay her off. I don't know if you remember that.
Surely don't.
Yeah, I had to let you go, girl. But anyway, we'll talk about it
Woo,
later.
yes.
That gives you a reason to come back, everybody. Just wait. We'll get to all of that. And then, so yeah, I like watching the elevation. Starting off, I think baking cookies and things of that nature. And then there were several stores inside of a building called Illinois Center. So I was in between those buildings, starting out. Left as a supervisor, and then they gave me a store, and I believe it was 34 West Washington. But anyway, after leaving there, as far as quality jobs, I think the pest control was good. I like here's a word that I learned working at NFA, the autonomy of it. I was able to basically, it was your business, interacting with the owners of the companies or the managers of the companies, and they were all types. There were commercial buildings, there were restaurants, and warehouses, and distribution centers, and hotels. Actually, one of my accounts was, at the time it was called the O'Hare Hilton, had over 800 rooms in the middle of course, the airport. And then I had the Knickerbocker downtown that I was responsible for, and that was total pest elimination. But enough about that. I liked the idea of being independent, no one over my head, having a problem to solve, and going after that problem and getting it resolved and getting help when I needed it. security, what I liked about it again, it was pretty autonomous, but very, um, maybe you should ask which jobs I didn't like. I think the part about that I didn't like is you couldn't leave your post. You had to be there 12 hours, or I had to be there 12 hours. And unless when the relief did not show up, I couldn't leave that post. That's what I didn't like about it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no incentive to want to stay. They presented it that you have to leave and you can't stay. I always thought that if they smooth that up a bit, guys might be more willing to stay. You know, give them a pizza or something. Offer to give them a check right then and there for the overtime that they're doing. Give them an incentive to want to stay. That's what I always thought.
To make it not such a bad thing to have to stay.
Yeah, but I did like the independence of it because the shift that I was on was pretty quiet. After about 5, it was like a ghost town. So I had time to read, listen to music. So I kind of liked that as well. And then at NFA that I mentioned, and like I said, I don't know if I should have mentioned the company or not, but I've been there for over 20 some odd years. But I like the idea of watching the progression there as well, the independence there as well, the ability to be creative, at least in my immediate surroundings, and the opportunity to try to resolve issues when I could. So I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much it. And then other than that, working socially, not just church specifically, but periods of time of working with people, interacting with people over a number of years. I don't want to even get into all that right now, but it's been years and years and years. So this is probably the most quiet time at this point that I'm now communicating to everybody that's watching.
Mm. And you are in retirement.
Says who?
That was where I was going, right?
No, there's no quiet time. We got to keep moving. When you think about the structure of the body, it was made for motion. And to just sit idle, it's not good for the mind. You can only watch so much television. You can only, relax so much. So we need to do something. And the best part of doing something for me is causing or bringing positivity, light, happiness to somebody else outside of myself. Why be selfish with our lives? Why?
Okay, all right. And so earlier you mentioned being married to someone.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all can talk about me later. Whoever's listening, whatever comment you're forming in your mind, just hold that thought.
Mm-hmm,
Just hold that thought. We'll be talking.
Yeah. Children?
Absolutely. Actually, yes. I have one son. When we got married, yes. During that period of time, she was expecting our first when we got married. But outside of marriage, none. So the 4. My son, Charles the 3rd. I guess you would still say that even though my dad is gone, but Charles the 3rd. And then I have Carla. She's my oldest. Charles the 3rd is he works with Progressive Leasing, if I be not mistaken.
Okay.
And then Carla, my oldest, she's been a part of Walmart for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Shanae, who passes through quite